right, welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Freddy Ndimuli. Now, at around 2 p.m. on September 13th, 2022, President William Ruto took oath of office and from then on became president of this great republic. 3 years on, and 3 years was marked on Saturday this past weekend. We're trying to look at his scorecard. And with us this morning, we're privileged to have Eliud Owalo, who is the Deputy Chief of Staff for Delivery and Government Efficiency. And that's your job to tell us how the president has delivered.
Absolutely.
I know you've been on the job only 1 year. Before that, you were a member of the cabinet. So definitely you've been part of this administration.
Yes.
In your own assessment, how has the government done in 3 years? Or in 1,000 days?
You remember that our overall policy framework and development agenda was pegged on the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, popularly known as the plan. That plan had 5 thematic areas. One was agriculture, then we had got medium and small enterprises, we had got housing, universal health coverage, then the digital superhighway, and the creative economy. In agriculture, our proposition that we needed to put in money into production as a means of lowering the cost of living. You remember when we came into government, there was hue and cry about the high cost of living index. And in our view, food, the cost of food constitutes about 54% of the overall cost of living index. So we felt it was imperative to put in money into production by way of agricultural inputs as a means of lowering the cost of living index. So we targeted farm inputs. As a result of that, the price of a 50-kilogram bag of fertilizer has fundamentally gone down from 7,500 shillings to 2,500, a reduction of 5,000 shillings per 50-kilogram bag. Arising from that, we have enhanced the level of agricultural productivity and production for that matter, and this has led to a fundamental reduction in the cost of unga. When we came into government, unga was going for about 250 shillings per 50-kilogram packet, per 2-kilogram packet. Today, the same unga is going for, on average, about 160 shillings. So that, in a nutshell, has lowered the cost of food. Coming to small and medium enterprises, you remember our flagship project here was the Hustler Fund. And this was informed by the fact that there was a critical mass of Kenyans operating at the bottom of the economic pyramid who did not have access to credit. The reason being that they did not have collateral to get to access bank loans, either a logbook or a title deed to enable them access bank loans. Interest rate at that point in time was going for about 17% per annum. So the major intervention in the market that we introduced was the Hustler Fund, where those operating at the bottom of the economic pyramid would be able to access loans, cheap loans, without collateral, going for about 8%, a single-digit interest rate per annum, which is almost half what the commercial banks were charging at that point in time. As we speak, 25.6 million Kenyans are already registered on the Hustler Fund. And out of that, we have managed to disburse about 64 billion shillings. We have managed to disburse about 64 billion shillings to individuals, and also about 196 billion shillings to groups. The repayment rate for the individuals is also very attractive. About 70% of them are repaying. We have a critical mass again, about 5 million, who have also graduated based on their credit rating to a longer extended period of the financial disbursement from 14 days to 30 days. Under universal health coverage, our flagship project was the SHA Universal Health Program. We did indicate that we needed to have a situation where all Kenyans, irrespective of whether they are in formal employment or not, could have access to healthcare as and when they fall sick. Before then, the National Hospital Insurance Fund was only catering for those who are in salaried employment, those who could actually make some contributions, monthly contributions to the fund. But our argument was that those who are earning having higher disposable incomes should be able to subsidize for those who don't have income, so that all Kenyans move in tandem in the same direction and access health coverage as and when they fall sick. To date, we have managed to get Kenyans, whether they are in formal employment or not, within the social health insurance scheme. We have got about 25 million Kenyans, 25.6 million Kenyans already on SHA, and we have managed to disburse, as we speak, about 64 billion shillings, 61 billion shillings to facilities, while on the flip side of it, we have managed to collect 64 billion shillings from the contributions. The other area where we have made fundamental progress is housing. We did promise to do about 200,000 houses per annum. As we speak, you remember there was a bit of litigation at the beginning which slowed down that progress at the beginning. But as we speak, we have managed to do 161,000 houses. But we have also managed to create 330,000 jobs out of the housing value chain. By way of direct employment, the laborers working in the construction sites. We also have provision of materials like windows, doors, and so on and so forth. The last anchor of our bottom-up economic transformation plan is the digital superhighway and the creative economy. In that space, one of the fundamental gains we have realized is digitalization of government services. As opposed to a situation where Kenyans have to physically visit government offices to get these services, we have managed to digitalize most of the government services. When we came in, we were at 350 services. Today, we are at 21,500 services already digitalized. Another intention was to set up 25,000 Wi-Fi hotspots. As we speak, we have about 1,500 Wi-Fi hotspots. We also intended to set up digital hubs where our youth can gain access to digital skills and by extension also get digital jobs. We have established 404 digital hubs in different parts of the country, fully equipped.
You said the promise was how many digital hubs?
1,450 digital hubs. We have managed to establish 404 digital hubs. In equal measure, courtesy of the digital skilling, we have also managed to train 1,600 youth who now have acquired digital skills. But we have also created 290,000 digital jobs. We have got youth here in Kenya, right in the villages, who have managed to get digital skills, but are also now, courtesy of that, working for global technological companies in Singapore, in India, in UK, in Canada, from wherever they are in the villages, which is a major, major fundamental gain because unemployment has been a major problem in this country, and the so-called white-collar jobs are today either minimal or non-existent. Where we have got a critical mass of opportunities is in the digital space. We have also facilitated provision of digital devices to various educational institutions to the tune of about 22,000. In education, we have managed to recruit 76,000 teachers. This is a historical milestone. Since independence, no government has ever achieved that feat. We have also constructed 23,000 classrooms. In labor, we have created jobs overseas, facilitated about 452,000 Kenyans to get jobs overseas. In equal measure, we have also now on the verge of getting jobs for over 400 nurses who are going to work overseas. When it comes now to the blue economy, another fundamental gain we have realized is the establishment of fish landing sites. As we speak, we have got fully furnished fish landing sites, 8 of them, which are fully complete in different parts of the country, which is providing refrigeration facilities to our fishermen. Another 14 is work in progress. So the sum total of all these interventions have led to stabilization of the economy. Okay. When we came into government, inflation rate was at 9.2%. Today we are at 4.5%, a fundamental reduction. Exchange rate, the shilling was going for about 160 shillings to the dollar. Today it has stabilized at 129. Foreign exchange reserves has also increased The fiscal deficit has also been reduced. We have also enhanced the level of our foreign exchange reserves, which was at about 7.7 billion when we came into government. Today, we are at 10.9 billion by way of foreign exchange reserves. On the jobs, we can comfortably say that we are on the right trajectory because most of the interventions we were introducing in the marketplace have cumulatively led to creation of jobs. Okay. In the agricultural sector alone, we have created about 1.3 million jobs cumulatively. In the digital space, we have created about 300,000 jobs. In housing, we have created 330,000 jobs. So we are on the right trajectory. I can state without fear of contradiction that we are on the right trajectory.
Let's not go step by step because I can see the numbers are very impressive.
Yeah.
But there's also the challenge, this has been debunked by Africa Check, especially on many numbers that the government gives.
Yes.
The promises vis-a-vis where we are.
Yes.
The promise, for example, in the affordable housing, 200,000 jobs. You say 161,000?
Yes.
Are those complete units or units
Some
still
are
under
complete,
construction?
there are others which are under construction. I would put it at 70% to 30%.
Because this past week, the CEO of the affordable housing program
Yes.
was on a different TV station.
Yes.
And she was asked this question on the number of units that have been completed, started and completed after President William Ruto took over office. And she says it's 1,400. Now, that number compared to the promise of 200,000 annually, and I'm just looking at probably the period between when the Affordable Housing Act came into place and today.
Yes.
How do we make sense of these numbers? 200,000, 1,400?
You see, we had challenges at the beginning, those litigation cases, which slowed down the progress. Granted, we are slightly behind the target, but you remember we still have 2 years to go. Cumulatively now, we expect that without those challenges, initial challenges which were associated with the infancy stage, we should be able to speed up the rollout of these houses to the extent that we can meet the target.
But is a 200,000 number feasible annually? Because if at all, let's say, since the Affordable Housing Act came into place last year, and now it's only 400,000.
If you ask me, we should not, numbers are not cast on stone. Numbers are set by human beings. Mm-hmm. They can be varied by human beings. We undertook a midterm review recently of our overall plan. What we promised to achieve, the milestones we have realized, the challenges we have faced. Any plan is not cast on stone. Mm-hmm. You come up with a plan holding all factors constant, ceteris paribus, okay? But as you start implementing the plan, certain intervening factors come into play. Mm-hmm. And it is conventional wisdom that as those factors come into play, you are bound to recast some of the targets or review some of the targets that you had set. Okay. So I'm not panicking about that. If you ask me, our concern should be the impact of what we are doing. Mm-hmm. Are we on the right? Do we need the houses? The answer is yes. Okay. Are we on the right trajectory? The answer is yes. Is this creating impact? The answer is yes.
Are you hoping to review the target, 200,000 jobs?
That is work in progress, and in due course we will come out.
I'm asking that because this is a subject of a lot of criticism, and if you look at the papers, on one of the papers they talk about how government flagship projects are crumbling.
Yes.
And basically based on the numbers
you cannot talk of crumbling. I think crumbling
were promised and the numbers that are being
crumbling
delivered.
Is a wrong word to use, because crumbling means things are falling apart. That is not the situation. Granted, there could be certain instances where we are falling behind schedule, but that is nothing out of the ordinary.
Do you agree that this could in some way erode public trust if the numbers were big and then they're not being delivered in the same capacity?
Not really. I don't believe so. I don't see anything wrong where we are behind schedule, coming up and telling Kenyans, look, this is what we had planned to do. Mm-hmm. Certain unexpected factors have come into play. We are fallen behind schedule, and this is how we need to move forward. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, where you are behind schedule, you own up. There's nothing wrong with owning up and saying, we promised this, but we are behind schedule. Okay. But in equal measure also, there are instances where we have surpassed the targets. Also, Kenyans should commend us for surpassing targets in certain instances where we have performed exemplarily well.
An example where you surpassed targets?
We had 350 services on the e-citizen platform when we came into being. Within 1 year, we are at 21,500.
Okay.
That is beyond expectations, and we need to be commended for that.
You initially gave credit to President William Ruto for stabilizing the shilling at 129 to the dollar.
Yes.
And you said it was as high as 165.
Yes.
Yet when the president came in as at September 2022, the shilling was at 120. In fact, critics credit the remittances to the current stabilization of the Kenya shilling and not really government policy. What steps have you taken to boost revenue in as far as stabilizing this shilling and not just taking credit for other things?
One of the things we have done is to rely on domestic revenue as opposed to direct foreign capital inflow. And this has actually been aided and abetted by digitalization. One, we are enhancing the revenue base by bringing in more and more people into the tax bracket. Yeah? In the small and medium enterprises, we have got a critical mass of Kenyans who are not involved in gainful economic activity, who are today in gainful economic activity, and they are paying taxes. This is boosting revenue. Through digitalization, we have sealed the revenue loopholes. On an ordinary day, when we came into government, we would collect about 60 million shillings by way of domestic revenue. Today, on a good day, we would comfortably do between 800 to 1 billion shillings on a given day. This just shows you the miracles that digitalization can do, because the people in government are the same. The sources of revenue still are largely the same, but we have just, courtesy of digitalization, sealed the revenue leakages. So in the fullness of time, our intention is to rely as much as possible on domestic revenue as opposed to loans. We are going down on external borrowing, but relying more on domestic revenue.
Okay. If you look at the numbers when it comes to debt and the debt uptake, 3.5 trillion shillings in the last 3 years.
Yes.
And the promise was that we will not go that direction. That against an unemployment rate over 35%. How do we sustain this going forward? It's 3 years in.
You know, we are coming from a background where we relied heavily on white-collar jobs, formal jobs. But now we are relying heavily, we are going the direction of the informal sector to get people into gainful economic activity. As we widen the number of those who are getting into gainful economic activity, we are also going to bring in more people, more and more people into the tax bracket. The net effect is that we should be able to collect same amount of revenue without necessarily increasing the taxes, just because we are bringing in more people into the income and by extension the tax bracket. So this will be a major boost in the economy. When it comes to external borrowing, in the fullness of time, we believe that the external borrowing will be fundamentally reduced as we rely more and more on domestic revenue as the revenue levels go up. The more we get more people into the income bracket, the more we will be able to enhance the disposable income of the people, and by extension, the number of people who are able to pay domestic taxes.
Right, let's go back to the issue of fertilizer. And yes, that definitely stabilized a lot of things for farmers, but that is the only input. The maize output was raised to about 39%, but farmers still face a lot of costs, especially on other farm inputs, and the cartels and middlemen in between. How do you intend to stop the subsidy leakages, especially on the issues of fertilizer?
One of the ways through which we intend to streamline the value chain for farm inputs is to weed out the middlemen. You remember we leveraged on digital platforms to register the farmers so that we get to know who are actually the real farmers. So we have got some farmers on digital platforms registered, and now government knows who the real farmers are. And this is one way of weeding out the middlemen. Today, the government can channel the fertilizer direct to the NCPB stores and even lower to the constituencies, working together with the leaders, and the farmer gets directly to the what? To the farmers. The problem we had before is that we had got cartels in between here who are hoarding the farm supplies and then charging exorbitant prices. We have weeded out those courtesy of digitalization.
All right. On the issue of inflation, yes, indeed, it has dropped significantly.
Yes.
From as high as 9% to about 4.5%.
Yes.
But this comes against a backdrop of high taxes And the question is, because most of this probably were imposed because of trying to conform to some of the demands by IMF. How do you explain that to Kenyans, that we are paying more attention to other forces and not really seeking relief?
I will not say so. You see, when we came into government, we had a situation where we were subsidizing consumption. Yeah, we were subsidizing fuel, for example, but that was not eventually leading to a drop in the cost of fuel. But we rejigged the model to subsidize production as opposed to consumption. We could actually have cost of certain produce and supplies reduced, courtesy of subsidy to consumption, but it is not sustainable in the long run. It is a knee-jerk reaction, if you ask me. The only way to sustainably bring down the cost of living is by putting money into production as opposed to consumption. Consumption, by and large, was ending up benefiting a few middlemen, a few brokers along the value chain. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the feeling
at the expense of the final consumer.
The feeling by many Kenyans is the inflation is low, but people are not feeling it in their pockets, and that's the question. We are not feeling it in our pockets. That's what most Kenyans are saying. How do you explain that?
You see, it takes time for some of the government interventions to mature. Yeah? You don't expect results overnight. Inflation has gone down, but there were also other interventions in the market, certain taxes, I would say, mm-hmm. which were also introduced. But in the fullness of time, we should be able, courtesy of the interventions in the economy, more so by way of enhanced production, we should be able to have a rise in the disposable income of the people. Mm-hmm. And this is how they will get money into the pocket, feel that there's actually a reduction in the...
Hence my answer, my earlier question, that some of these higher taxation were due to demands by the IMF.
Not necessarily.
And as far as balancing between relief for the Kenyans and giving in to demands by the IMF?
I would not say so. I would not say so. You see, some of the interventions we have made in the market are transformational. We are coming against a background where people were used to the norm, mm-hmm. but we have introduced certain interventions which are transformational. For example, this housing thing we are talking about. Since independence, each and every political party has been talking about, oh, when we come into government, we are going to come up with a housing program, but there has been no will to introduce it. Okay? This time around, we have managed to do what? To introduce it. Universal health coverage. Each and every political formation has to be talking about universal health coverage, but nobody has ever bothered to introduce it. There are usually pains. When you come up with transformational programs, there are usually certain pains that you have to fill. But in the long run, the net effect will be positive.
All right.
Yeah. So I will not say that all these, whatever interventions we have been introducing is courtesy of IMF and other multilateral lenders. I will not say so.
All right.
Yeah.
We continue examining the first 1,000 days of President William Ruto in office with the Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of delivery and government efficiency, Bwana Eliud Owalo. We take a short break. We'll be back to continue with this conversation. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tap
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe with me, Fred Indimuli. I'm in studio with Eliud Owalo, who's a Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of delivery and government efficiency. We're just looking at the first 3 years of President William Ruto in office, or if you'd like it, the first 1,000 days. And you've expounded so far on the kind of successes that this government has made in the last 3 years. And the good thing is that you've shared a lot of data as well.
Yes.
But even in your sharing data, you can see there's a huge disparity between the numbers that were initially promised and the delivered ones, especially, for example, even in the number of hotspots, Wi-Fi hotspots, 25,000 and now 1,500 so far. 1,400 digital jobs, 404 delivered so far. And one definitely understands there must have been challenges that did not enable this administration to do so.
Yes.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you've encountered, or President William Ruto has encountered in the first 3 years, that the numbers just don't follow through?
The first challenge is, of course, resistance to change, by those who are benefiting from the status quo. Whenever you are introducing change, people start by denying, we are on a transformational agenda. Whenever you are introducing changes, most people start denying. First of all, they don't believe that the change can be possible or even feasible. They deny that change can actually take place. So it takes people time to embrace change, to board change, and by and large, they resist change. We have faced a lot of challenges when it comes to digitalization. Look at the recent initiative on e-government procurement. It's being resisted by individuals within government itself. As we speak, we have already onboarded 1,200 procuring entities on that system. We have registered over 7,000 service providers on that system. But by and large, we still have people resisting because they are benefiting from the manual processes. And we are arguing that the best way of streamlining our procurement is to go digital, so that we have got end-to-end visibility of the entire procurement chain, starting from floating of the adverts, terms of reference, everybody's clear on it. People bid online. Technical proposals are evaluated online. They are opened. Everybody knows the scores attained at the technical evaluation stage. Financial proposals are opened. Everybody knows what each and every prospective service provider has quoted. So you see there's entire visibility. But people are resisting that because they want manual processes where they can cut corners and perhaps manipulate the processes. So one of the challenges we have faced is resistance to change. The other challenge is politics. It is unfortunate that in this country, we want to do politics 365 days in a year, 7 days in a week. We go for elections. Immediately after elections, when a new government is sworn in, we start politics in preparation for the next election. Surely we cannot continue like that as a country. We must give time for our economy.
Someone else may argue that some of this, especially the challenge on politics, could be self-inflicted, that probably issues like the impeachment of the former deputy president may have in some way affected government delivery. I don't know if it has. I'm asking, do you think that some of these challenges, especially the political ones, could be self-engineered?
No, there are several factors within that political space. I don't want to single out just one given factor. There could be certain factors in that political space which have actually also slowed down the implementation of government programs. So what I'm saying in short is that we really need to lower political temperatures and focus more on the economy. These interventions that the government is introducing are all inclusive, irrespective of political formations. So we need to give them time to mature so that as a country we realize and benefit from the attendant gains out of these transformational initiatives. So we need really to leave politics for the right time. And I'm not just talking about this term of the fifth administration. It is a culture that we need to change as a country. We cannot be doing politics throughout.
All right. Staying on that issue of politics, because now we understand the workings of government have changed significantly in the broad-based arrangement, that some of these people who were before the broad-based workings, very opposed to some of the government projects, are now part of government and tasked with implementing the same. How would you say that has affected or influenced the workings of government? And has it affected, slowed down, or speeded up anything in as far as delivery is concerned?
You know, the political temperatures, if you ask me, are a bit palatable today. Yeah, are a bit palatable today because we don't have people on the streets with sufurias on their head. Perhaps that's also an indicator that the cost of living index has gone down. So to me, it is positive. It is positive that we have brought in more people into the government formation. Mm-hmm. But again, also, we need to nurture our democracy. Yeah? How I wish that we would have a situation where we go for election, and a winner emerges. We allow the winner to form government and to govern. Yeah? And then we also have a loyal opposition that is executing its mandate in conformity or within the confines of the law. But if we have elections every year, every election cycle, we have elections, then the next minute, the losers are also in government. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense.
Are you at a loss when discussing the bottom-up economic agenda, transformation agenda, at a time when the broad-based workings are in play, and most of these people who are in government now, including even members of parliament who are now supporting government, were not really for that? In fact, and I'm asking this because even the mention of better or bottom-up economic transformation agenda has actually gone down. Even you look at the papers and no one is talking about the...
But I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it. I was one of the authors of that plan, yeah, before the elections. I was part and parcel of the conceptualization of that idea and the authoring of that plan. And I'm still talking about it. Mm-hmm. You don't expect everybody to talk about it. Of course, that's granted.
Does it still remain on course?
What?
That's a question.
Better?
Yes.
But it is the overall policy framework on which our development agenda is pegged. Mm-hmm. It has not changed. Nothing has changed. We are focusing on the better plan. Mm-hmm. And those who are in government also, they have no option, but they have to align to the better plan because everything is aligned to the better plan. They have to pursue it alongside us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. They don't have an option. Yeah.
Back to the challenges. You talked about resistance, you talked about politics. There are more challenges, I'm sure. Corruption.
Corruption. You know, this is a disease that has bedeviled this country since independence, where people who are holding public positions want to benefit from public coffers at the expense of the public. The government is aware of this, and recently the president has established a government efficiency office, domiciled within my functional domain, under overall guidance and leadership of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, to try and streamline some of the processes which have led to inefficiency in government and by extension even corruption. So we are operationalizing this office. One of our areas of focus is to re-engineer the processes in government so that we can have efficiency and efficacy in delivery of services to the public. In equal measure, we want to seal all revenue loopholes for revenue leakages so that we don't have pilferage of public coffers. We don't want to have public officials dipping their hands into public coffers. And in this vein, we will be working very closely with the National Treasury to streamline some of the processes like procurement, where it comes to the fore that individuals serving in government are actually either circumventing the processes and operational procedures or are involved in outright theft of public funds. They will be held to account by way of the necessary laws and regulations. We will be working very closely also with other relevant government entities. The Office of the Auditor General will be working also very closely with the Office of the Controller of Budget. We'll be working very closely with the DCI, the EACC, the Ombudsman, just to mention but a few of the government entities.
There are challenges there as well. We've seen so many reports by the Auditor General pointing out to serious malpractice within government ranks, also the control of budget. And you've mentioned the DCI, EACC and the rest. Is there a legal weakness or weakness in the legal framework?
We have never had a weakness.
We've not had any of these cases successfully prosecuted in court?
We have never had a weakness in our legal framework. We always have the legal framework in place. The challenge we face is enforcement. Let every entity charged with a given functional mandate just do its job.
So at a time when
let ESCC execute its mandate, let DCI execute its mandate, let the ODPP execute its mandate, then we'll be in good state.
Yet we're just looking at a number of cases being withdrawn by the ODPP, while all these organizations and institutions have done their work. And I wonder, how does that impact on government delivery if at all corruption is still not punished?
Let each and every government entity execute its mandate to the letter, and we will not be having challenges. That's what I would say. But I don't want to impute an improper motive on anybody's part.
Is there a weakness in fighting corruption?
I would not say that. I would say that we have not actually attained the necessary threshold in terms of fighting corruption. But this is a whole, it needs a whole government approach, and it needs a whole Kenyan population approach. It starts from the culture of us as a people, as a country. Look at what we do even during elections. People who are perceived to be corrupt are the people Kenyans vote into office. Why do we do that? You have seen it. You have seen governors, people elected as governors or members of parliament, while the public know very well they have gotten money through dubious means. So it's a culture shift that we need to embrace. It starts with all of us. It's not just government.
By that admission, that the level of corruption in Kenya, which is not punished.
It's deeply embedded.
Yes.
But we need to fight it.
How much of an impact is this having, if we may quantify the kind of impact it's having on government delivery? Corruption alone.
If I look at corruption by way of loss of public funds, I would say it's impeding negatively to the tune of even about 40%. Yeah.
So 40% in as far as government delivery is concerned,
yes,
is impacted negatively by corruption.
Yes.
Wow. Moving forward, do you think there's a possible way, because even the multi-agency task force that the president formed has already met legal hurdles. Do you see a way out of this?
You know, we also have this culture of going to court. The culture of litigation, it's also impeding implementation of government processes. Litigation, anything you start, litigation. I mean, these programs that we are launching as government, they are for the benefit of the Kenyan people. Is it possible that as and when we have got differences in opinion, we can sit together on the same table, talk, discuss, and agree or agree to disagree? Because once you take a case to court, it is subject to the judicial process which can go on forever and ever. Yeah? And then everything comes to a stall. We need to have a culture of talking to each other as opposed to talking at each other. It's not always feasible, if you ask me, that anytime we have a disagreement, we should rush to court. No. I believe we should talk among ourselves as Kenyans.
All right.
Yeah.
We're getting into more or less the campaign period now. We're back to the era where promises are being made. Are you under pressure when you listen to President William Ruto making more promises, yet you know the kind of challenges he has faced in the last 3 years, and the fact that within less than 24 months, he'll be expected to deliver to Kenyans, and that is your burden?
We are doing a lot, but it is clouded in politics. And you can't stop Kenyans from politicking. How I wish that we slowed down on the politics a bit and focused more on the economy. But we can't stop it. You can't stop people from politicking. That is a factor, extraneous factor, which is out of our control. But I'm not panicking at all because, we had a plan. And in that plan, we made certain promises. We are implementing the plan to the letter. We have not gone out of our plan. We are really just focusing on what we promised. In the fullness of time, when it comes to time for the elections, we'll go back to the Kenyan people and we'll tell them, look, this is what we promised in agriculture. This is where we were at 2022. This is where we are at 2027. What we have managed to do, a tick. What we have managed to do, a tick. If by bad luck we have not managed to achieve something, also we will own up and tell Kenyans, look, this we promised, we have not managed to achieve it because of such and such factors. And we will own up. There's nothing out of the ordinary when you own up to something you have failed to do. We go to the other thematic areas. So we are not going to run even the next campaign on the basis of politics. We will run it on the basis of our scorecard. You remember that since independence, this is the first time that a government came into power on an issue-based platform. Yeah? We ran the campaign on an economic platform, a major radical shift We did say that we don't want top-down approach to planning. We are going bottom-up, and we engage stakeholders from all over the country in coming up with a plan. We even went ahead and signed charters. The president signed charters with different stakeholder segments in each and every country. We will go back to Kenyans and tell them this was our overall plan, anchored on these 5 thematic areas. This is what we have managed to do in agriculture. This is what we have managed to do in small and medium enterprises. Same for UHC, same for housing, and same for the digital economy, the digital superhighway. We will also go back to each and every county and tell the people, the stakeholders, the same stakeholders we met in 2022. We will tell them this is the charter that we signed. And out of this charter, this is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. So we will be going back to espouse our results matrix by way of clear performance indicators, not abstract, based on what we promised at the beginning.
One of those promises is on the issue of debt and borrowing.
Yeah.
President William Ruto was very clear that he would not continue burdening Kenyans with debt.
Yes.
Yet in the last 3 years, we can see we've borrowed more than 3.5 trillion shillings.
Yeah.
And in as far as controlling the debt uptake of this government, is it one of your deliverables? And how do you think you've performed in as far as efficiency of this government in as far as debt is concerned?
The efficiency office has just been established. We are in the process of operationalizing it. But that is also a discussion that we are going to have with the National Treasury. Of course, our long-term plan is to bring down the cost of the amount of debt that we are borrowing and focus more on domestic revenues. We will have that discussion with the Treasury. But we believe at the end of it, at the tail end of the life of the 5th administration, the level of external borrowing shall have gone fundamentally down.
We're talking about the possible 2 years because, yes, a fresh mandate has to be sought in 2027.
Yes.
Do you think it is possible to slow down, now that the office has been established, to slow down the uptake of debt going forward?
That is just one of our frontiers. I mean, we have got so many things to deal with, more so with respect to the processes in government.
Okay.
But our ultimate objective is that we should be able to run a government that is efficient and effective. Efficient in the sense that we are getting more value for money, and effective in the sense that we are delivering to the expectations of Kenyans.
Talking about value for money, many would argue that 3.5 trillion shillings is a lot of money, and probably would be seeing tangible infrastructure projects.
Why, if I may ask you, why are you so much preoccupied with this 3.5 trillion? You are only focusing on that, and you are not talking about the fundamental gains that we have realized in all these other...
It was one of the main campaign rhetoric.
Yeah, but it is just one of those. And I've told you that we envisage a situation where we'll be relying more on domestic revenue as opposed to direct foreign capital.
Because we're talking about debt, and we're talking about government delivery.
Yes.
There were promises also on mega infrastructure projects, the Rironi Summit Road, extension of the SGR, and all these things. And one wonders, after we take 3.5 trillion shillings, how come we cannot see the physical infrastructure?
You know, we had we came in when we were actually swamped in debt. This country was actually in the red when we came into government. So it needed certain radical measures to be introduced. If we kept on borrowing and to finance the infrastructure at that point in time, we were going to get into a vicious circle of debt. So the president in his wisdom slowed down quite a number of things. That's why you see quite a number of roads were stalled at the beginning. But we have now actually unlocked that space of roads. We have securitized that sector. We have gotten actually money. Recently, we paid all debts, all contractors who were owed 40% of everything that they were owed. Progressively, we are going to clear those debts. As we speak, most contractors have now gone back to the roads all over the country. You'll realize that all those roads which were stalled, the contractors are back on site. You know, Kenyans are used to a situation where they measure development by the amount of tarmac they see being rolled out in their neighborhoods. And I can confidently state that those roads which were stalled in different parts of the country are going to be completed. Right. Contractors are back on track, back on the roads all over the country. Yeah.
Finally, let's talk about wastage and the issue of the public sector wage bill, because we're talking about efficiency as well.
Yes.
This discussion was there, I think, even before you got into this new position.
Yes.
And the public wage bill, everyone agrees, is way too high at 48%. of revenue collected. And there's been nothing tangible or no proper structures to actually reduce this. Yet there was a conference last year at Bomas of Kenya, and I remember the president was very vocal during that conference. How come, in as far as the delivery of efficiency is concerned?
You know, for a start, recruitment in the public sector was frozen. Unless in justified instances, massive recruitment which was hitherto awash in the public sector was frozen. But as a long-term measure of sorting out this issue, from where I sit, I believe we need to undertake a comprehensive job evaluation for the entire public service, so that, one, we are able to determine the relative worth of all the jobs that we have in the public sector. We are able to benchmark the value of our jobs with similar jobs elsewhere in the market, so that we are able also to pay people in the public service well. But ultimately, we need to determine the optimal staffing complement that we need in the public sector. I've always argued, I know this may not sound popular, the business of government is to create that enabling policy, legal, and regulatory framework to enable the private sector to thrive, okay? But granted that we need people to execute certain mandates in the public service. But the business, overall mandate of government is not really just to employ people, okay? We need to retain people in government whom we need to deliver on their respective mandates. So we need to determine the optimal complement of staff. But we also need to enhance staff motivation by paying those we have in the public sector well. That would perhaps also be one of the ways of eliminating corruption and pilferage of public offers in government.
All right. And finally, a lot of these promises were made probably or were predicated on the hope or confidence that President William Ruto would get a second term in office. Yet that is subject to the Kenyans as well, come 2027. You have only about less than 24 months to go.
Yeah.
Are you confident that this administration will be able to deliver on a lot of this flagship projects, the 5 that you enumerated at the beginning?
Yes.
And to what extent by 2027 at least?
I'm very confident that we will still meet the objectives that were envisaged at the very, very beginning. I don't want to be talking about 2-term or 1 term for that matter. That politics will sort itself out when it comes to 2027. You know, some of the interventions we have introduced are highly unpopular with certain people because they are transformational, and they are also individuals who are benefiting from the status quo, and they would resist some of these changes. So our focus really as a government is to deliver on our mandate based on the promises that we made to the people. We don't want to cloud our development agenda with politics. At the right time, we will do the politics 6 months to the elections, but we are not preoccupied with politics at this point in time. I can state without fear of contradiction that if President Ruto delivered on his mandate to Kenyans at the expense of getting a second term, so be it, he'll be happy. We were elected so that we transform this country, and the president has said that 1,001 times, that he was not elected to get re-elected, but he was elected to transform Kenya. So that is, we have our eye on the ball. That is where the focus is. We deliver based on the promises that we made to the people, which is anchored on our bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Yeah. That is our preoccupation, not 2027 politics.
Yet when you look at the dailies, there's a lot of criticism, housing bribe, Shah staring at slow death, and all these things. Does this worry you in any way, that probably this kind of public relations or visibility of this negative news will impact on your delivery?
People are free to hold whatever opinions they want to hold. As an individual, personally, I have my own opinion. Everybody else is free. It's enshrined in our constitution. Freedom to hold an opinion is enshrined in our constitution. So you cannot stifle people holding different opinions. That is guaranteed in the constitution. Yeah.
Final words as a word of confidence to Kenyans in as far as this government's delivery is concerned.
We are in good state, and I can state without fear of contradiction that we will deliver to Kenyans the plan that we promised.
All right.
Yeah.
Eliud Owalo, Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of delivery and efficiency of government. Thank you so much for your time at TV47. As we continue looking at the 3 years in office of President William Ruto, which was marked on Saturday, the 13th of September, you could look at it as the first 1,000 days of President William Ruto. What do you think that this government has done? Do you feel that what Bwana Owalo, the kind of confidence Bwana Owalo is exhibiting here, do you feel it where you are? Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been Morning Cafe. My name is Fred Indimuli. Have a lovely morning.